Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. Today on Bones Collector, we're continuing our series where Lori and I are playing our way through our board gaming library. The reason why we're doing this, of course, is to show you up close and personal the mechanics and what the game looks like physically on the table. In the top 10 videos and top 100 videos that we do, we only talk about each game in a few brief sentences, and it's very difficult for the viewer to understand what that game is about. So we're going to play a couple of games, 2 or 3 games each week, and make a video about it and pass it on to you, and I hope you enjoy them. Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. Today I'm going to be talking about a game we just got done playing called Picture Perfect. And Picture Perfect came out in 2020. It is designed by Anthony Nouveau, and it's a 2 to 4 player game. And basically it's a memory game and deduction and some auctioning. There is an auction variant that you can use at the beginning of the game. And the winning condition is the most points. Now, as you can see here with this display I have in front of me, this is what you're going to look like at the end of the round that you're going to be scoring, at the end of the game, excuse me. And then you take a picture with your cell phone, and hopefully everything jibes up with the preference cards that you've been looking at for these characters that you see here. And here's how the game works. Every player will have a certain number of these character envelopes, and these character envelopes, again, it depends on the number of players, but these character envelopes will be for you only to look at the beginning of the game. And you'll pull the preference cards. Each one of them contains 3 preference cards, and you're going to look at them and take a look and see what kind of preference this character pictured on the envelope has for where they want to stand in the picture. You know how picky some people are. They don't want to stand next to Uncle Joe or that little brat that doesn't have any kind of manners. So they have little preferences on these cards, and you're going to want to try to place them so that you can try to complete this envelope in all 3 phases. Now that's not going to be possible, obviously, but you want to get as close as you can. Some of them you can get all 3 preferences fulfilled, and other ones you can't. But you want to get as many as you possibly can, and that's the point of this game. When you do find one that you can get all 3 of them, all 3 preference cards fulfilled, then you want to put in this VIP card, and when you do that, that particular character will pay you double points at the end of the game. So that's something to think about also. And then when the game is being played, this is the round counter, and these are your exchange cards. These are called exchange cards, and that's exactly what they are. And they have the player count on the back of them, and there's 6 of them in a 2-player game, and you simply take turns drawing one exchange card, and it will tell you things like reveal the contents of 2 random envelopes from the middle of the table to both players. At the beginning of the game, I said that each player has some character envelopes. There's also a market of character envelopes in the middle of the table, like 4 of them in the middle of the table that you're going to be leaving there and exchanging not only with each other, but you're going to be exchanging character envelopes from that middle also. And these exchange cards will tell you when you're going to do that, and that's what they're for. And again, you take turns passing the starting player card. It comes with the game, and it tells you how the turn is to go. So you're going to draw an exchange card and then pass this back to the other player, and then they will draw an exchange card, and you keep passing this starting player card back and forth until all 6 of those have been exhausted, and that's the end of the game. And when the game ends, your scene that is going to be, in this particular case, it's the Perfect Moment bar. This is the one I use, and this is my favorite anyways. But you see how cool that looks. I hope you can see that on the camera, I hope. But that's what your scene's going to look like, and that's pretty sweet, isn't it? I mean, I really enjoy that. It's a very light game, and you take a snapshot of this group photo, and you have to present that as proof that you fulfilled the number of preferences that you say you fulfilled. And then at the end of the game, once the game is over with, you're going to take this, fold it up, and then it has a score card on it. And you have a cube that you're going to keep score with. And move it along here as you go through each character. You're going to pull out the preference cards. One person will read them, and you're going to score accordingly. Move your cube along the scoreboard, and then this side tells you exactly how you earn those points. So if you have a character you placed on your board and you fulfilled none of their preference cards, but they're on your board, you're going to have -3 points. I actually did that once, so it can happen because I needed that character to fulfill another preference, and I didn't pay attention to the fact that I wasn't doing any of those. And I may not have known that. Maybe I didn't even see that character, and that can happen in this game. That's why these exchange cards are really important. So you want to try to get to see all the envelopes that you can, so that you at least have seen them, and then you can move things around to try to optimize the points for those preference cards. And then it tells you everything, every way you can score in the game. And each one of these scenes is different. And of these your player screens, each scene is different. There's one at the beach, one that's outside, looks like a picnic, and then another one that's in like a family room with a piano and that kind of thing. But they're very, very cool. And also, there's a variant at the beginning of the game where you can start an auction. You'll take 3 auction cards and put them in this stack of 6. So you remove 3 of the regular ones and then put in 3 auction cards, so you still end up with 6 cards. And then during the game, once one of those auction cards comes out, you're going to do that auction. And that simply is these table decorations that you see on this table right here. That's going to be your currency during the auction. And the auction cards will allow you to bid some of these table items to gain a peek at some particular character envelope that you desperately need to see. But if you don't use those up during the game, or if you spend some and then some are spent that come to you, then those count for, you get a point for every 2 of those that are on your table at the end of the game. So that's one way to score points also. But I would suggest using that. Actually, especially, I don't know, it just gives the game a little bit extra. You don't have to, but I would use the auction cards in this game just because it just adds a little bit into the game, a little more complexity, because this game is very light. But that doesn't make it a bad game. Actually, it's a very good game, and we enjoy it very much. This is the type of game that you want to keep in your library, because when you have people in your house visiting you that do not play board games, this one can be taught very quickly, and it's very attractive and just very approachable as a board game, and people understand it very quickly. And it's something they can all do, and you get out your phone and take a snapshot, and everybody's laughing and giggling and having a good time. And that's why this will probably stay in our library for quite a while, just for that reason. I really enjoy having games like this where you can introduce it to new players, people that just don't play board games. And even people who play a few board games, maybe they've never played this, or you just want something quick and easy so that you can gab and don't have to be concentrating so hard that you can't have conversation. And there are games like that. I would never do that to people that come to visit me. I always get out something like this that we can play and have a conversation with at the same time. But man, it's a lot of fun. It's a great game. We saw it played at Dice Tower, and I knew immediately when Lori saw it, she liked it, and I knew we were going to get it, because she likes this kind of thing, and I enjoy playing it with her. So we enjoyed it at 2. I really enjoyed it. Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. It was fun at 2 players. But if you have, there's an expansion that adds 2 more players to it, so you can play 6. And I would imagine at 6 players, this thing would be a gas. I mean, I'm sure the more players you have doing this, the more fun it is. But yeah, it's a great game, and it's different and unique. And I look for things like that in games. And even though this game is very light, it still has that fun factor. And that's very important, because there are a lot of games that are heavy that are a grind. And I shy away from those. You really have to be in the mood for something like that. And I could name a whole list of them where they're just so complex they're a grind. And they're no fun to play. And you eventually just melt under the boredom of it. Those games that are grind become boring. And you don't get them out, they sit in the closet or whatever. This one you can drag out and play in an instant.
Yep.
I wanted to point out that these are not the standees that come with the game. They are cardboard standees, and we just haven't punched out yet. I saw when we were at Dice Tower Con and they were playing the game, they had these acrylic standees, and I love these acrylic standees. They were in The Captain is Dead, and where else did we see them? Several board games have used these, and I don't know why they're not used more, actually. And really, it would have been fine for this game to have used them also. The only thing you run into a little bit of trouble is, like, some of these preferences say, I don't want to see the little girl, like this little girl here. I don't want to be able to see her. That's one of the preference cards. Well, you can almost see through some of these acrylic standees. So you got to really be careful how you position them. Where in this case, the cardboard would block that view a little better. But still, we opted to pick these up as an extra purchase. For me and for us, we really enjoy the acrylic looking standee. And we got them from Arcane Wonders themselves.
Yes.
So you can get them from Arcane Wonders. And when they were demoing the game at the convention, these were there. And I immediately said, well, you know what? If I do get this game, which we ended up doing, I said, I want those acrylic standees. And I think there's a Sherlock Holmes expansion coming out. There's going to be some kind of a mystery thing, I suppose. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, when you sit down and play this game, it's very easy, and you're looking at these envelopes, reading the preference cards, trying to figure out, let's see, wait a minute, what did that I had to pass that character envelope that I've already set up to another person, but I'm trying to get, I'm only one preference card away from completing this character, but if I move that person, I can't remember what their preference card said, if I can actually get away with moving that. So there's a memory element to this game, and I usually don't like that, but in this game it's fun, because it's just light, and it just makes you want to play this game trying to remember who wants to stand where, and it's pretty fun. And I'm going to keep this game because of its light nature, of its fun factor, and I think just looking at it on the table is just so much fun that people are attracted to it. I think when we were at Dice Tower, there was just always people gathered around watching Picture Perfect being played. And I can see why, because it's a game that's a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy it if you like that kind of thing. And again, I would get this game out. It takes us like 15, 20, I'd say 20 minutes.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we can get it done in 20 minutes, 2-player. And so it's a very, very light, it's like a King Domino type of effort getting this game set up and played. So I really enjoy that. There's times when that's applicable, and there's times when that's necessary. So hey, if that's something that sounds like a lot of fun to you, you might want to try Picture Perfect. We're going to keep it, and we enjoy it very much. Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector, and Lori and I just got done playing Trekking Through History. Trekking Through History is a 2022 title by Charlie Bink. It's a 2 to 4 player game unless you get the Kickstarter. It has a solo variant. So if my solo friends out there want to have this game, you'll have to get the Kickstarter version. That's the only difference, I think, is just that solo. And I wish they would have put it in here, because there's so many people that have to or want to play solo. So it's just a shame that it didn't come in the box, but whatever. And this is a set collection, time track, open drafting game, and the winning condition is the most points. But first, let's talk about the game itself, the box and the components. And this game is magnificently produced. I really, really like it. If you watch Escape Winter Convention, I talked a lot about this game, but I read this quote inside the lid wrong, and Lori yelled at me. But it says, "History is not a burden on the memory, but an illumination of the soul." Lord Acton said that. So this is a real nice, sturdy box, and the rule book is easy to read. What else I want to tell you? It has a wonderful insert. Everything fits in here perfectly. It comes with a wonderful tray for the experience tokens that you use. So the nice tray comes in the box for the experience tokens. This is a neoprene mat board. I mean, how often do you see that? Not only do you not see it very often in games without extra charges, but this fits in the box. And that is a deal maker, not a deal breaker. And that's wonderful. The experience tokens are thick plastic. These itinerary cards are linen finish. All of the history cards are linen finish. The ancestor cards, same thing. Beautiful card stock. Can't say enough about it. This time clock is thick cardboard. Your pocket watches that you use are thick plastic. And these decks are called what? I can't remember.
It's the Time Warp.
Time Warp. This is a Time Warp deck that comes in here. Adds another layer into the game, which is really nice. And you get quite a few of those. And it changes. You use 3 of them in each game, and I'll tell you about those in a second. And then you have a crystal, a thing where you store your crystal, your time crystals, on this little thick token. And I think that's it. I think that's everything. So yeah, magnificently produced. Man, I tell you, I don't know, this is the way games should be produced right here. I don't know, I mean, all of his Charlie Bink's games, and it was Trekking the National Parks, Trekking the World, and Trekking Through History. All three of these games were wonderfully produced. And they're good games. I mean, the other two were good games. Trekking Through, the first one, Trekking Through the National Parks, it was wonderfully produced. Good game, but it was a little bit light, so we didn't keep that one. But boy, this game here, I don't know if this isn't a Spiel des Jahres winner. I don't know what you would pick, because this game is absolutely fantastic. It's a game that it hits that sweet spot where experienced gamers will enjoy this game, and people who don't play board games could go and pick this game up, read the rule book, and figure it out pretty quickly. And that makes a very, very good game, and a game that for me should be game of the year. I've talked about Emergence of the Dark Road. That's my favorite game of the year so far. This is right up there. It's a neck and neck thing. I don't even know which one I'll pick right now. It's those two, and I've played a lot of 2022 titles, and I'll do a video, you know, with the top 10 of the year. But this game is going to be way at the top with Emergence of the Dark Road, because it has a fun factor that it has to be present in a board game for me to really, really like it. So let me tell you a little bit about how the game is played. I'll get this off right here so you can see. So it's played in 3 days, and you have a stack of history cards for each day. Day 1, Day 2, Day 3, and each one of these history cards are exactly what you would think. It has a year on it, 1300, and it has some iconography that tells you what experience tokens you will be receiving. So these cards, they're going to be on Departures row here, and you're going to make an open draft or a selection of those cards depending on some different factors. You're trying to build a trek through history, and you want that trek to be as long as possible, but it has to be in order, in chronological order when you play the game. And if you can't place your card in chronological order, that particular trek is over with, and you have to close that down and start a new one. But guess what? If you can keep those treks going, that's how you score a lot of points in this game, is by doing these long treks. And Lori had one yesterday. It was 12 cards long, and that was 36 points, and she won the game because of that trek. And then today I just had one that was 8 cards long, and I was able to win the game because of that. So I think the secret's in trying to put together these long treks. Each player will have 4 of these itinerary cards, and these itinerary cards, you can see, you can put your experience tokens on them, and you get these point bonuses when you complete certain parts of them. And if you see how this works, as you go down these columns, you're going to get these benefits that you cover up with your experience tokens. And then if you complete these rows where you see these solid lines from left to right, you get the bonus points that are over here. So you're trying to complete this itinerary card. You're trying to select cards that will be in chronological order in your trek, and you also have these, what are they? Time warp cards. These time warp cards, so you're trying to decide when you want to use that time warp card. And as these cards are selected out of the Departures row, of course they slide down like every other good card selection game, and then this deck here will feed into this Departure row. Now in Departure row also, in addition to the iconography that's on the card, there are awards or rewards at the bottom of that card, and you also get that. So again, these decisions in this game are quite interesting, and you're trying to select the card that's going to best help you achieve your itinerary and your trek cards. And they change as they slide down this row. And then in addition to that, you have to ask yourself, how much time do I want to pay? Because whenever you select one of these cards in the bottom left-hand corner, it has a time value that you have to move on that clock. And once you go around that clock, that completes your day. So you see the time values here. If I select this card, 1805, I'm going to pay 4 time. If I select this one, 998, I'm going to pay 3 time, and so on. And it's just like Patchwork. If you've played Patchwork or Glenmore or Kraftwagen V6, it's the same type of mechanism, so you've seen it before. And the person in the back is going to go first, and if you're on the top, you're going to go first. You get another turn. So there's going to be times when you get 2 turns. I think this particular game, I got 3 turns in a row one time.
You did.
Just because when you have these crystals collected on this crystal collector, or whatever it is actually called, you can pay those crystals to subtract time off the card that you selected. So you might be able to stay back enough to get one more turn and things like that. If you have crystals left over at the end of the game, of course, they're 1 point each. But I've found that spending them is the wisest move. 1 point isn't that much. But if you can get some of these cards, if you can combo them correctly, I mean, like Lori had like 10 or 13 points in one turn on her itinerary, and then of course trying to get your trek as long as possible also pays lots of points. And then the time warp cards work like this. You select 3 of them randomly, put them face up in the middle of this clock, and each day one of those will change one of the game rules in that particular day, and you can use that. Like this one here says gain the benefits from your most recent card. Then you have markers in your player color, and you have to pay 1 time to do that. Gain the benefits from your most recent card. So you select a nice card maybe that has 3 icons on it, and you get it twice if you pay 1 time, and you put your marker up here to show that you've taken that benefit, and you can only do it 1 time. So that adds another layer to the game, which is absolutely wonderful. I'm telling you, then you got a score track here on the board, and then if you are trying to build your trek out and you don't see anything in the departure row that's going to work for you, then you have a deck of cards called ancestor cards, and you can take this card, pay 3 times, and you get a wild token in addition to taking this card, and then you can place it in here and it can fit right into your trek. So you can make that last, and maybe you can see a card, hey, if I can get by on this one turn, I can see a card in departure row that'll come off, and then I can take that, and it'll go right in my chronological order in my trek. So you can take ancestor cards. That's something else that you can think about, and you can use those. I mean, if you think about it, you can really use those to your benefit at the proper time to help you extend these treks that you're building. And that is really about it. You know, it also comes with a card here that shows you day 1, day 2, day 3, and all the dates that are in those cards. And that's pretty much the whole game, but there's, as if that isn't enough, every one of these cards has a history lesson on the back of it. And I love when games do that. And I've learned some things in this game that I did not know, and I'm 66 years old. So I appreciate learning something in a board game like this. It is a wonderful game, you guys. I wanted to take the time to tell you about it. It is definitely going to stay in our library. It's right up our alley. Again, the decisions in this game are interesting enough and make you think hard enough to make this part of your library. And if you like games like Sagrada or lighter fair games, you're going to love this game. Reef and, gosh, what's on my bench down here?
Cascadia.
Oh, yeah. Cascadia, Calico.
Azul.
Yeah, Azul, Summer Pavilion. Yeah, I mean, those types of games, Carcassonne the Castle, Agricola, All Creatures Big and Small. It's right in there with that level of complexity. But the game is beautiful on the table, it's produced magnificently, and it's a lot of fun to play. And that's the most important part. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Charlie Bink doing Trekking Through History. We like it. Okay, everybody, that was a couple of games out of our library that we wanted to share with you. We're doing this video series to show you in depth, a little more in depth about the games that we have in our library and what it's like to play them, so that you can take a look at them physically, what they look like on the table. And also I wanted to tell you that these videos probably don't come out as often or as frequent as I would like them to, because we're very busy. We have lives that we continue on with, and with grandchildren and so forth, and children that we have, and so we're very busy in that regard, like you guys are. And I don't ask for money, I don't get paid for this at all. Lori and I just do this because we want to share our passion. The only payday that I get is when you comment on the videos. That's my payday. That's the type of things I really like that make me feel good. It goes way beyond a monetary reward. And thank you for those comments, and please keep them coming. We'll try to get back to you as often as we possibly can. I love every one of you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll try to get them out as soon as possible. And always remember to keep on board gaming. It's the best hobby on the planet. Bye-bye.